Your speakers today will be Ashok Suppiah, serial entrepreneur and CEO of co-founder of Mitra Innovation, and also Alan Ward, a senior director at Atkinson Ward, as well as an independent coach and consultant. In the past 20 years, Ashok and Alan have worked with some of the world's leading companies from JP Morgan, Citibank, Siemens, McDonald's, BT and Microsoft. In a moment, I'll pass you over to Alan. However, if you have any questions throughout the session, please message them to us and we'll ask them at the end. Over to you, Alan.
Thank you, Julie. So, Ashok, here this afternoon, tell me, why are you so interested in technology startups in particular?
First of all, Julie, thank you so much for coordinating this webinar, and secondly, Alan, it's a pleasure to share this session with you. Going back to your question, I think startup has been a very interesting space. If you really look last 20-30 years, lots of startups have started to come in various parts of the world. North America leading that space, and now we are seeing it in UK, Israel and Australia. So it's a really nice place to be, and I'll cover some statistics later. But going back to my experience, I spent about 10 years in North America, working for a pretty large, very successful startup IT services company called Virtusa Corporation. NASDAQ floated in 2007. We grew into UK, into Asia and Asia Pacific, pretty successful. But the first 5 years, we predominantly helped tech companies incubate and innovate in America. That actually started from garage startups in the early few years of our startup, but subsequently we went to Symantec, Lotus Notes, EMC, and we inspired them to come up with new products, and we incubated for them. It's a lovely experience, and that helped me to give a broad perspective. And one of the startups that I worked with, it was called eDocs, which got acquired by Siebel. Now it's part of Oracle. They sold it for $180 million. It's a pure startup, VC funded. They raised about $40 million. I was the chief architect for that incubation. Great experience. We basically pioneered how to put your credit card statement online. So American Express, Toyota cards, British Telecom credit card, they all are powered by this piece of tech we wrote. So that was my experience. I've been here in UK for about 10 years. Mitra itself, we founded it 4 years ago. We are working with a lot of startup companies in Greater London, in Northern Ireland. We're trying to help in Dublin, and hopefully we'll go to other major cities in UK. But it is really growing. I just saw statistics to say in 2012, about 484,000 startups started in UK, and it went up to 608,000 in 2015. That's about 9 to 10% year-over-year growth. That's huge. So that's good. Apparently there are 5.2 million SMEs in UK, and they generate 48% of the employment for the country. It's pretty good. Looking into the future in the startup space, we are starting to see more and more very innovative, very cost-efficient startups coming up into the market, whether it's a wearable watch for healthcare or very sophisticated gadgets that you carry that can monitor your security and safety, or at home you don't need to do this complex wired electrical security monitoring system. You just buy one of those modern cameras like the Wittings, 460 pounds, you plug it in, it monitors the home, it knows when you're entering the home, it knows when you're leaving the home, it automatically alarms it, you don't need to switch on and switch off. It recognizes your face, so the minute you walk away, somebody else comes and it doesn't recognize, it sends you an alert. So it's the intelligence that's coming into how we run operation, how we do things, and it's simplifying it. And we see startups doing more and more for this kind of stuff. So it is an exciting place to be, isn't it?
Great. Yes, it is indeed. And the examples that you've talked about use technology, and we're particularly thinking about those entrepreneurs who might not be technologists themselves but have the need for technology to enable their business. So could you just say a little bit more about what you mean by a tech startup?
Sure. It's a very good question, because when I travel around and talk to people, I get asked many questions around startups, and it could be very business, it could be somebody looking to start just a health club, very little tech. So the area we specialize is where technology is a major part of the business, either they're selling some sort of a software or hardware, or they're running an operation powered by technology. So I'll give you examples. Hardware, like the security camera I mentioned, or iPhone, beautiful device. It helps us run our business nowadays on iPhone. On the software side, you can subscribe to your accounting package online, $9.99 a month, like Xero from New Zealand. They're expanding so rapidly because the software is so simple to use. £10 a month is not bad, isn't it, for doing your accounts? That's a software side. The third one is if you look at Amazon, if you look at eBay, they provide you a service. Amazon doesn't sell technology. They create your marketplace for you to buy anything you want, pretty much. But they are doing it 100% using technology. So we have a very interesting client in Holland. They provide logistics for SMEs. They buy about 8 to 11% of the FedEx, the tier 1 courier companies, FedEx, TNT, and they sell that at a subsidized price to SMEs, but it's all online. So you go online, click on the button, your parcel is collected by the courier, tracked, shipped, the whole thing. And we built that entire technology for them. It's gone live. They're signing up clients in North America. They're a 27 people company taking 11% of the worldwide transport market. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yes,
because it's all technology, completely technology-driven business. So I categorize into 3 areas. Either you're a pure hardware player, pure software player, sometimes you could be hybrid, and the other one is you're a services company completely driven by technology.
Great. So really we're talking to entrepreneurs who are not necessarily in that technology space, but they need the technology to be able to deliver their service or product. And so what are some of the things that in the first 12 months people stumble on or prevent these startups being successful?
That's a good question. And unfortunately, there is no formula to say this is the right cookbook or not or the wrong cookbook.
It's not that simple.
No.
Right.
We will see more billionaires if that is the case. In my experience, having seen about 40 to 45 startups in North America, and now I have worked with close to 20 in UK and another 10 or so in Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. I see there are 3 things they really need, and they need to make it right. And of course, there is a 4th element as well. So 1, you must have a great idea, of course. If you don't have an idea, there is no business. That's understood. But more importantly, you need to have the right team to execute. If you have the wrong team, even a great idea cannot be delivered. Third one, you need the funding. Either you need to put your own money, or you need to raise through crowdfunding or angel investors and so on. And the 4th element, which sits on top of it, is you need to be at the market at the right time. If you're too early, like Xerox, we have examples of Xerox who came up with the user interfaces for computers, which Apple polished it and Microsoft polished it, and they got it to market. Xerox didn't. And similarly, we have camera examples and so on. So you have to be at the right time at the right market. And if you're too late or too early, you lost it. So I think the team, idea, and funding are very crucial. In addition to that, if you look at the first 12 to 18 months of your incubation, there are a few things you must do in my humble experience. As part of your team, a lot of startups focus on the product itself. They get the product right, get the software perfect, process perfect, but don't think enough about selling. So, within the first 4 to 6 months, we encourage our startup companies to start to think about the market, get early user feedback. That is very, very important. And the second one is the idea itself has to be really powerful. It has to be unique. It doesn't have to be 100% unique, but it has to be so simple to use. People must love it. If you're building something and it's okay, there's many options out there in the market. Why would I buy an okay Uber app when Uber does a much better job? And similarly, so many other examples are there. So that is right. And then third one, you also need to get the funding right. If you don't get the funding right, you might have stumbling blocks, and sometimes startups I've seen under tremendous pressure and they collapse if they don't get it right. But early market validation, early market adoption is very, very crucial. I'll give an example. We are working on a very innovative healthcare product for elderly people who love to stay in their own home rather than going to a care home. NHS can't cater to that, but there are 880,000 elderly people living in UK at their own home, and the care system can't handle it. So we are coming up with a technology idea that will monitor and it will have artificial intelligence. It will understand the single or the couple who live in that home, and if they have a sudden fall or the temperature goes up or they're outside for too long, it'll alert. It's called Cradle with a K, and we entered a couple of competitions with Virgin and so on. So it's looking promising, but we already done the visual interface, and we are running a pilot with about 10 to 20 elderly people. So we're going to their homes and showing them, saying, if I have something like this, will you use it? And they say, oh, this button is too small. No, I need this capabilities. So you need to get the market information very early. And then somewhere I saw a statistic, I think it's in Forbes and Fortune. It claims 9 out of 10 startups fail in the first 5 years or so. Well, I would say 10% of the business are succeeding.
Right.
So it's not
positive way.
Positive way of looking at it. It's not easy, and when I looked at one of the research published, the top 20 reasons why startup failed from a random postmortem. Of course, you're not at the market at the right time is number one. Number three is you don't have the right team, and then further down is you don't have the right product. So those really stand out. A lot of the others you can manage, but you have to have the right product, you have to have the right team, and you need to make sure the market is ready. So you have to do the evaluation and so on. And a development principle that has become very, very popular is called Agile, whereby you create what we call user stories. So I, as a user, phone to make a call, to send a text message. So those what we call a user stories. You write a backlog of user stories, and then you allocate them into 2 weeks projects. So every project is no more or no less than 2 weeks, and in those 2 weeks you have to execute something. And that's something we practice at Mitra quite a lot. It works very well. I think that approach helps startups, because if you take the first 3 months of operation, let's say the first month is to really get everything structured. You still can run 3-4 sprints. You know what I mean? So in the first 90 days, you can have a prototype that you can go and show it to potential customers. Could be friends and family. Validate it, tune it, because the market will tell you what they want. Unless you are a Facebook, you can't. So use the market, make sure you got the right team, line up the funding to make sure you can afford it. And if you can't afford it, make sure the sales can come quicker for the cash flow, and just get it right. So you will be in the 10% of the success.
Okay. So Ashok, you've mentioned lots of different building blocks there, and is that entrepreneurs can start to get a better chance of being in that 10%. And I'm just wondering whether there are some typical stages that in that startup period that the entrepreneurs should go through to really try to put a process around this.
There are different theoretical models I have read, but I actually, from my own experience, have built a model, and I call it the 5 circles of product life cycle. It's on our website, mitra.com. There's a page on that. So I'll walk you through the 5 stages,
okay,
and we can talk a bit more on certain areas. So if you visualize 5 circles, the first one is your idea. You have an idea, whether it's a product idea or a business idea or a services idea. You have to validate that idea. So typically entrepreneurs will talk to their peers, their friends and families, and validate that concept is really valid. And you don't see much on the market, so it looks good. Then once you get your idea reasonably good, your second circle is what we call a business visualization. So you have to visualize in your mind how this business is going to run, and you produce certain documents to just get it right. So you need to write a simple business plan. Even a canvas, 1 page, a canvas is very important. Who are you going to sell it to? Which is the market? Which geography you're going after? What's your price point? If you don't have a price point, you can't build your financial model. What is going to be your cost of production? Do you need to procure the goods? Do you need to sign up a supplier? And so on. So you build a simple business plan. You do your financial projection, so you know what's your break-even point, what's your funding required, how big your team is going to be. You need to build all those models and validate that and make sure, 1, you can sell, 2, you can make money. If you don't make money, then you need to think hard. Once you pass the business visualization, the third circle is product visualization. So again, you validated your idea is good, you understood and validated you can make money. Third, what is the product in more detail? So if it is a software, you can develop prototypes. So you start drawing on a piece of paper, hire an engineer or hire a team. They can create the screens and make it mocking like a working piece of software. If it is hardware, buy some gadgets, assemble them together, make it a prototype, robot. So get something working that people can touch and feel and show it around. Agile technique is very helpful here. So don't take 3 months to build it. Just do it within 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Take it to the market, validate it. Once you're there, this is where you need big funding. At this, before you go to the 4th circle, you need the funding. And 4th circle is implementation. So this is where you need a lot of expertise. You need people with confidence who can do the job. You need competent people who can implement it. You build this platform, service. You need to not only build your technology product, at this point you also need to think about how you're going to sell the channel, how you're going to build your customer support. Once you get the first sale, calls will start to come. How do you handle that? So you need to think through financial, how are you going to run your back office, a lot of things you need to think through, but you can do that in parallel to implementing the platform. And then the 5th circle, the final, is you basically launch it. We have a global perspective because the world is flat and market is easily accessible nowadays. So you start small, start with 1 city, go nationwide, then you go to neighbor country and so on. But use platforms. I was fascinated to see, must be 6 months ago, Amazon has a new section called Launchpad. So when you go there, click on Launchpad. Launchpad is basically products from startups. So you can buy, so I go and check very often what's coming to the market. And so the new products are coming up. That is designed for the 18% early adopters, of course. But it's impressive. I actually bought like a not super glue, like a blue tack. There's a new company called Snap something. It's actually from Dublin, and I bought it. So instead of one big blue patch, you get 5 different colored ones. So you get white, black. So I had a ceramic to paste. So I used a white tag, and it glued together. And you can glue metal, leather, you name it. So it's some innovation. But I bought it for £12. It's not bad, you know, it's worth a try. So like that, there are a lot of channels coming up for startup companies. So use a channel, it's a global supply model, a lot of opportunities out there, but what is important is planning. You have to plan the 5 circles, go through the cycles, and we help our entrepreneurs to go through the circles. Entrepreneurs come at different stages, not always stage 1. They may have done the business visualization, but they need help in product visualization. So you can come in and out. And also we are seeing people exiting their startup during these 5 circles. So there were 2 instances where we did the business visualization, we did the product visualization, but they were unable to convince the investors. So they gracefully exited. It's better to exit early than you go through 2-3 years of your very important time in your life, and then you realize it failed. I mean, failing can be interpreted at different ways. One way, one extreme is, I mean, you really missed it. Other end is you learned a lot. Of course, there's a middle ground to say, of course, you went through a challenging time, you learned, but you also ready for your next venture, which you can be a bit more smarter.
Yes, thank you. So really, from that process, as you've described it, this is about eliminating. So ideas, we can create lots of ideas by brainstorming, but only some of those ideas will pass through the next filter of business visualization. So is it commercial? And then you move through into, so what would the product itself look like? How would that actually work out there in the marketplace? And then you work into implementation, making it happen. So all the time you're narrowing down till you finally get to the launch stage, and by then you should have something that is viable and using whatever channel to actually get out there and get it out into the public. So this is a funnel approach from I wonder if this would work down to, well, it looks like it will. It will. And part of what you're talking about is, if it's going to fail, then find out that it's going to fail fast, rather than investing more and more time to something that doesn't really have a viability around it. So that sounds like it would be a really useful process for entrepreneurs to go through, particularly when we're looking at the whole implication of the funding, the market, and the building a team. So I can understand that process. You said about building the team, and that's important. So can you say a little bit more about how that helps or hinders? What are some of the benefits of that team building?
Sure. Even going back to the life cycle, the funnel, as you mentioned, all it's doing is it's reducing the risk factor.
Yes.
Risk factor to the entrepreneur, risk factor to the investor too. So it really helps to get the information right, your planning right, your market validation right, and constantly you're reducing your risk. Now, the key element, as I mentioned earlier, is the team, in addition to idea and the funding. It's very important the entrepreneur surrounds him or herself with the right skilled people, and that could be either they hire in or they build a dedicated team with experts from the market, or they partner with companies who are specialists. I mean, we are specialists in incubation, but then there are instances we help our entrepreneurs to build their own team. It depends. It really depends on the circumstances. But you need to invest really in your team. If you don't invest, if you take shortcut methods, it will bite back. So, for example, last week for the May 5th election, we ran a platform for a client of ours called Modern Democracy. We ran a platform that did quite a number of, it managed several polling stations in UK. but the same software was written by another company going back in time, but it was a piecemeal project. So startup hired a company to do a piece of software for 6 weeks, and they finished it, took the software in, closed the contract. And then they weren't able to scale. When they went back to the supplier wanted a lot more money. That's what happens if you go in that path. So you must, if you're going to invest $1 million in your business, for example, you can't say 900,000 is for salaries and marketing and only 100,000 for R&D. That doesn't work in this. Then you're not in the technology business. You're in something else. In the technology business, you must invest quite a lot in the technology side. That is mostly people. You're not buying you're not buying Oracle and expensive software these days. So invest in your team, make sure the team is right. It reduces the risk. In fact, when entrepreneurs go and pitch for funding in front of VCs, some of the VCs want to see the first slide is the team. Show me the team. Then you go to your idea. Then you go to your channel. If you have the right team, they believe you will succeed.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thank
if you have the best idea and the wrong team, no.
So that's really important, and part of what we're talking about here is the rocket fuel for success, and that comes from managing your risk, being aware of what the risks are to all parties concerned, and really focusing on have you got the right support around you. So we've been running for around about 30 minutes. We're coming up to at the end of the time. Julie, can I ask, have we any questions from participants on the call today?
We do. We've got some quite interesting questions actually. This first question isn't really something that you've covered yet, but let's see if you both can answer it. So the question is, I think my idea for a new technology is great, but how can I find out if other people will think it's great without my idea being stolen?
So Ashok, is this part of your business visualization stage?
It's more product visualization. So my suggested approach is you build you get a visualization of your product, and then you identify some market representatives who represent the real customers, and you do a market validation by showing them the actual product. Obviously, you need to pick those who can be confident and so on, and then you just get a market validation. What do they think about the product? Now, there are a lot of entrepreneurs who like to help the other entrepreneurs. Non-exec, they are good to get non-exec for this kind of stage. They will give you their humble opinion. And there are a lot of people. Actually, I meet quite a number of successful entrepreneurs, and they're very passionate to help others.
Mm-hmm.
So my suggestion is 3 things. 1, get a prototype done or get a visualization done for your tech idea. Identify a group of people, friends and family and extended friends. Show them, validate the idea and see what they think. And 3, maybe get 1 or 2 non-exec who will channel you in the right direction with that broad set of connection they currently have.
Great, thank you. So at some stage you've got to show your hand, but it's about choosing when and to who.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Julie. We've got time for another question if you've got another one there for us.
I do. So we've had one question come in, which is, are there any particular geographic markets where I should launch my tech idea first? For example, are tech entrepreneurs more likely to be successful in particular geographic markets, maybe in Asia or Europe or America? Is there any guidance on that?
Thank you, Julie. And Ashok, I know you've actually worked in certainly in the US, Europe and Asia, so from your point of view, where would be a good place to start?
That's I don't think there's a right answer to that question. What I could do is I could describe the characteristics as I see it. In North America, especially if you're in the Silicon Valley or in the Boston New York belt, as they call it. There's plenty of money. Investments are huge. You're talking about 5 million, 10 million, 20 million. So you have access to the funds. You have access to the great talent. Leaderships are very strong. If you get one of those VCs in, you have strong management buy-in. But at the same time, fail rates are very high. So, it's not to say North America is the answer. But if your idea requires large amount of funding, that's a good place to be in. So if you're building a healthcare technology and you need $30–40 million, you may have to go there. I don't think you'll get that level of funding in UK easily. There are, but you're probably competing. UK has an interesting market because you have access to Europe. So if you take the entire Europe and UK, I would say UK, especially London, is a great hub to be based, and there's a huge funding access coming into the market. All the banks are involved. Unilever has $100 million funding, so you access funding here. And this market is slowly maturing. There are more and more entrepreneurs that are being successful, and they're reinvesting. But in terms of volume, it's a smaller market. But the opportunities are pretty big as well at the same time. So I think UK and Europe, from a Europe point of view, UK is a good place. India is a melting pot at the moment for innovation. You probably seen Flipkart came from nowhere, became an Amazon for that market. So is China, is such a big market. But the problem in India and China is the market awareness and the talent you need to survive in that particular market. You really need to know the local politics, local way of doing things. The only reason I shouldn't say only reason, the primary reason Flipkart succeeded is because they found a way to deliver products to customers without credit card. Amazon cannot do that.
Right.
They tried in India, but Flipkart got it right. They're a multi-billion-dollar company today. And in China, the Chinese companies are doing extremely well, like Alibaba. So that's a very difficult market unless you know the local way of doing things. Singapore, Singapore, Hong Kong, there are a lot of tech companies there. They're doing well, but funding is a lot limited. People in that region, what I find is they're happy to fund in physical things, properties, commercial properties. When it comes to tech businesses, it's a smaller pool. So you have access to it, but it's a challenge. And going further down to Australia, New Zealand, the funding is a lot smaller there. So you're really looking at America, UK, I think are the leaders for most cases. Secondly, India and China is pretty good, but you have to have a local connection there.
Okay, thank you. So it actually comes back to those three elements that you talked about. It's about is the market there? First and foremost, do you have then funding available? And of course, coming right back to your fundamental of have you got the right people?
Exactly.
So that then would help your choice of where would be the right place, the best place to start.
That's true. But I would say if you have the right people and if you have access to funding, it's the idea that matters most thereafter.
Yeah.
So if you have a brilliant idea like Uber or what Amazon managed to do, simple things, it goes a long way and you can get access, you can get funding very easily.
Okay. So thank you for that. I think we're coming to the close of our time here today. Thank you, Julie, for sharing those questions. And I'll just hand back to you for the close of this session today.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Ashok and Alan, and thank you also to our attendees for joining us. We hope you found the session very useful. We'll close the webinar now, but we'll post the recording of this one on our website and also our social channels in case you want to listen to it more, and also please feel free to share it with others. And if you'd like to chat to Ashok or Alan further, please contact us via our website at mitra.com. So that's MITRAI.com. Okay, well thank you very much and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.